We, as human beings, only have access to our minds and our ideas to create reality. In order to know if the things around us are really real, like this cup of coffee, then we must infer that they are loyal representations of what is actually real. Like in the case of this new bicycle, we can think that it's a loyal representation of reality, but we don't really know. Therefore, we all have this metaphorical veil proposed by John Locke, through which we are supposed to see what is behind, through which we are supposed to know what is really happening in the world. There is nothing that the problem is asking us to imagine, rather it is asking us to seek what is behind the veil. So now we have to ask ourselves, is it true what we observe around us? This is the question that the problem is posing and refers to the real truth, not just what we perceive. This problem tries to explain that there is only one truth, but the people perceive this truth in various different ways and different realities through this veil of perception. For you, something may be right, for others wrong. There are millions of ways of seeing the same truth, and every person in the world has one. Now, which philosophers have addressed the problem or tried to solve it? What did they propose? First, we have John Locke, the one that proposed the veil of perception. He said that the only things we perceive are ideas. He proposes that we can understand knowledge as if we were inside of a dark closet with some holes in it, and that everything we know is just an interpretation of what comes through those holes. He says our perception is not reliable, and this creates skepticism. On the other hand, we have the Irish philosopher George Berkeley. He believed that the ideas Locke proposed were the actual reality, because our brain creates our reality. And he thought Locke was the one stuck inside a closet, instead of John Locke, more like John Locked. So George Berkeley was quite the man. He said that there was nothing behind the veil, that it didn't exist, that reality exists only in our minds, and therefore what we perceive was the actual reality, not a distorted one. Both philosophers had contradicting ideas, but our team chose to kind of mix both. Now, how is this problem present? How can we see it in our daily lives? This veil of perception can be related to the news we see in social media, especially to the fake news. Daily, we are fed tons of trash via the internet and the social media, some masked as entertainment, like YouTube, but even more dangerously, some of them are portrayed as news. The issue here is that in many cases, there's so much of the same information, there's an overwhelming amount, that we begin to believe everything without checking it twice or without checking if it is posted by a recognized, known, or trustworthy source. Nowadays, we listen to so many news, we listen to so many politicians that this leaves our judgment clouded and makes it hard to know what opinion to have towards something. It is very hard to be well informed and to know if we're seeing inside the veil through our own perception or if we're being more objective. At this point, I don't know if anything is real or true at all. But what is our personal stance on the problem? Do we think that it can be solved or not? Now, we think that both Locke and Berkeley go to extremes when addressing the problem. As a team, we don't fully agree with either of them, but we go more with the John Locke argument, since we think that whatever each of us experiences is to a certain extent real, but we are always deceived by our own senses, own experiences, and our background. Therefore, we cannot find an absolute truth. Each person, yes, can live their own reality, but their reality varies from person to person. There are some things that undeniably exist outside our own ideas. There are arguments for everything that we have not yet discovered, but the way we experience them, live them, or approach them always will vary from person to person.